Nga Charlie Smith, Chongpenji, Georgia Straight. I'm the editor of the Georgia Straight, and I'm pleased to be here with WOW TV for another weekly installment of What's in the News. And I'm going to begin with a controversial story that came out of the BC election on May 14th. And in the constituency of Vancouver-Fraserview, Gabrielle Yu, who's well known in the Chinese community and a small businessman, was running against Suzanne Anton for the BC Liberals. And Suzanne Anton is a former city councillor, and it was a very closely fought contest. The difference was less than 600 votes, and Suzanne Anton won, defeating Gabrielle Yu. He had lost in 2009 to Kash Heed, and he also lost in 2005 when he ran in Burnaby-Willingdon quite narrowly. So he's lost three very close elections. Well, this time he's saying that there were dirty tricks played, and it was a third-party advertising group called the Better BC Coalition, and they put ads in Chinese language. And these ads in Chinese language made all sorts of claims about the NDP, which Gabrielle Yu says were false. One of them was that the NDP wants to support a comprehensive marijuana legalization, and the ad also said in the Chinese language that this could lead to marijuana being sold in the schools, and do we want our kids exposed to this? Gabrielle Yu is insisting that this statement is false. The next thing that the ad said was that the NDP, if elected, would stop the export of natural gas to Asia, and that would harm relations with China. Well, again, Gabrielle Yu, who has good relations with the government of China, and also he's from Hong Kong, said this statement was false. And the third one was the claim in the ad was that that the NDP, if elected, would put a tax on businesses before they made a profit. The reality is that the NDP was going to impose a capital tax, but only on financial institutions. So no businesses, apart from banks and credit unions, would be taxed if they didn't make a profit. The person who is with this group, Alice Tang, is claiming that the statements in the ad were made on the basis of research. And this is where things get very interesting. Can you place false ads before an election in British Columbia? And some of the newspapers, like Ming Pao, published the ad and took the money. Others, like Sing Tao, did not take the ad. Well, the issue of whether you can place false ads, it turns out you can in British Columbia before elections. Under Section 256 of the Election Act, you're required to make accurate statements to Elections BC. So the Better BC Coalition was registered with Elections BC, but they gave accurate information about their address and who their sponsors were, so they didn't break the law. Elections BC has no authority to look at whether the ads are false. So it turns out you can basically say anything as long as it's not defamatory. I contacted the Competition Bureau, which is a federal organization that deals with misleading advertising, to see whether election ads in BC would fall under their jurisdiction. Would the Competition Bureau investigate if somebody made false statements in an election ad? Well, the Competition Bureau has told me that that is not the case. That is not their mandate. They deal with corporate practices and business ads, but elections fall under the jurisdiction of election officials. So what makes this most intriguing is that the person who is the beneficiary of this, Suzanne Anton, is the Attorney General. So she's the chief law enforcement officer in the province and is the advisor to the government on all legislation. Gabrielle Yu is saying there was a loophole in the Election Act, and he thinks that that should be fixed so that never again can you run false ads. It's ironic because in 2009 he lost to Kash Heed of the BC Liberals, and there was also controversies about ads placed in Chinese language newspapers, and at that time the ads were claiming that the NDP would bring in an inheritance tax called a death tax, and that was false. So it turns out that in British Columbia you can place ads saying anything before an election, and there doesn't seem to be any check and balance as long as you don't defame a person's character. Now, I'm curious whether Suzanne Anton will deal with this. I'm also curious whether, because she's the Attorney General, that just for the sake of propriety, if the Attorney General Ministry will turn this over to a special prosecutor to look at it. You can have Elections BC making a statement, but ultimately, if there was any wrongdoing here, it should be seen to be independent, because the Attorney General, the person who oversees the justice system, is the person who's benefited from these ads.